All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So here's a provocative question, and I may be a little too out in front on this, but in today's world, I think anything is possible. Is Southern rock about to get canceled? Let me give you some examples, and then I will explain why I think it's a very strong possibility. Um, Bands like Lynyrd Skynyrd, obviously, bands with a lot of Southern imagery and lyrics that may, I guess, celebrate Southern life or Southern culture. Um, you've got the Allman Brothers, got a shirt on today, which is one of the reasons why I decided to talk about this. The shirt just made me think, and then what was in the headlines and what dovetails with what I'm about to talk about. Molly Hatchet, the Outlaws. Now, those two bands, what they have going for them is they're not really played on the radio anymore. Molly Hatchet and the Outlaws. Molly Hatchet flirting with disaster, maybe. That's about it. The Outlaws, nothing. No green grass and high tides forever. The Outlaws actually have a really decent catalog, and it used to get played on FM stations. Not all of it, but quite a few songs. Their version of Ghost Riders in the Sky is epic. The Atlanta Rhythm Section, you will hear So Into You every so often. The one song they still will play. The Ronnie Hammond era of that band, one of my favorite bands. Seriously, with Ronnie Hammond singing. Ronnie wasn't there for the first album, I think, and then he was recruited for the second album, and he was there until he passed away. The guy who replaced him was actually there at the very beginning. Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. I'm just throwing it out there. Confederate Railroad, obviously a problem right there with the name. Alabama. All right, so that's my short list, and you could come up with your own, I'm sure, and add to this list. There are other Southern rock bands I'm leaving out. Mostly it's going to be the bands that have problems because typically, if you have a band name that maybe ruffles a few feathers, or you have lyrical content that is celebrating certain things, you may get into trouble. Now, the reason I say all this is the story of Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Kenny Wayne Shepherd is a blues guitarist who was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. I became aware of Kenny Wayne Shepherd back in the mid-1990s when he scored a #1 mainstream rock radio track. In the midst of the grunge meltdown, Kenny Wayne Shepherd did this with a tune called Blue on Black. It was just too cool to not play that song. And when I heard it on the radio, I'm like, what is this? Is this a revival going on? Are there going to be more of these? Kenny Wayne Shepherd was a very late entry into the blues rock revival, basically, which happened in the late 80s and early 90s and then fizzled because of grunge. But Kenny Wayne had a song that radio programmers couldn't ignore. His guitar solo was amazing, and he's become a force on the blues rock music scene, and he's been there for about 25 years. Well, Kenny Wayne Shepherd collects automobiles. He collects cars, classic cars and so forth, and apparently he had a replica of the General Lee. Now, you won't see this story in mainstream rock publications, I've noticed. It hasn't popped up. It actually showed up in a couple of country websites, which is interesting. And these are what I call traditional country music loving websites. They talk about reviving real country and so forth, and not this bubblegum version, bro country stuff that's been out there for a few years. So Kenny Wayne made the mistake of purchasing a replica of the General Lee. You know the car. And everybody who grew up watching that show saw that car flying through the air. How many takes did it How many cars did they wreck in that show? I mean, they must have had those cars just lined up in the parking lot. Well, we're going to destroy one today, so we need another one. It was an iconic car, and it had a flag on the roof. Well, that was enough to get Kenny Wayne, I think, canceled from a few things, including being considered for a Grammy Award recently. This stuff is just gone completely off the hook. What's interesting, though, is that Billy Cox, who has hung out with Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Billy Cox, former bass player with the Jimi Hendrix Experience, played with Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock, later became a member of Hendrix's band of Gypsies that then preceded the Jimi Hendrix Trio. He's 81 years old. He's collaborated with Sam Cooke and Slim Harpo, Etta James, and many others. He also performs in Jimi Hendrix tribute bands, trying to keep the Hendrix legacy alive. He made a statement, Billy Cox, about Kenny Wayne Shepherd. He says, "The missus and I know Kenny. We have traveled many miles together with Kenny, his band, and his management. Lots of days and nights together in close quarters. The missus even calls Kenny and Noah," that's the vocalist in Kenny's band, "her youngins. For us, that says a lot about the kind of person that Kenny is, and we know that he does not deserve the crosstown traffic that he is caught in. I value Kenny Wayne Shepherd's talent as an artist, and I respect and applaud the way he treats his family and fellow man." Okay, so you would think that would be enough, kind of like you've got a witness to come forward and say, hey, I'm not a bad dude because I own this car. But this is how far things have gone. And so I just wonder, how long does Southern rock have as a commodity? How long does it have left to be? And I'm talking about classic rock that's still on the radio. I'm not talking about the new apologetic strains of pseudo roots rock and classic rock that is trying to apologize for the past all the time. I'm not talking about that stuff. That stuff won't get on the radio anyway. But these are older formats. And eventually, look, I know this is a hard truth to say, but we're not all going to be here for that much longer, right? Some of us won't be here that long. And then when we're gone, the music will go by the wayside. It will be put in some kind of a time capsule, or you might even, look, at some point, you might not even be able to stream this stuff. So owning the physical copies of this music might be a real thing moving forward. So if you're a fan of Southern rock, in the case of Kenny Wayne Shepherd, if you're a fan of his blues music or anybody else who purchased the wrong items, seriously, this is what we're talking about. This is crazy. You might want to purchase that person's music. The band Confederate Railroad, I'm just shocked that they're still in existence. It's just crazy, right? So in any event, these are weird times we're living in. Kenny Wayne Shepherd seems to be a really nice guy. And I don't know why this is an issue, other than the fact that people are so angry and they don't even understand like what they're angry about sometimes. And they have to use this guilt by association thing. And the association is like, it's very distant. And, okay, I was a kid. I thought this car was cool. Am I a bad person? Because when I was a kid, I watched Daisy Duke. I thought she was cool, right? Daisy Duke and the car. Yep, that's why I put this show on. Like many red-blooded American men, teenagers, boys, whatever, this was a show that we kind of enjoyed. Goofy slapstick humor. You knew how it was all going to end, right? The show, every show was a happy ending, and Luke and Bo and Luke Duke were the heroes every single time, right? Sometimes Daisy too. They worked together to defeat the evil police force, right? Boss Hogg and all of his minions. But I don't know. It's a weird place where we're at right now. Just the nostalgic part right now is something that people don't appreciate. That they don't appreciate memories. They don't appreciate it was a better time. This isn't just the old Dave talking. It was a better time. No question in my mind. You didn't have all this crazy technology. Yeah, right. I wouldn't be on YouTube, which I appreciate being here on YouTube, but life was different. Life was simpler, and people weren't offended so easily. So, in any event, that's my take on this. Guard your Southern Rock collection. Beef it up. Go out there and purchase what you need. If you're worried, if you're thinking you don't have, those records that you want, go find the vinyl, go find the CDs. CDs right now are actually fairly easy to find because everybody is streaming everything. So if you're a fan of these bands, I would get right on that soon, seriously, because it's coming. It's here.